Alrighty, welcome everyone to another session of Office Hours for Groundhogg. My name is Adrian. I am the CEO and founder. It's Office Hours session number 54 today. I've been doing this for some time now, so I appreciate everybody taking the hour or so out of their day to hang out with me, and we'll talk and get your questions answered, and hopefully you'll learn something by the end of the hour. So FYI, this session is being recorded and will be posted to YouTube and Groundhogg Academy. So anything that you share on the call will be recorded, so keep that in mind. The chat is obviously not recorded, so your identity will remain anonymous for the rest of the recording. Ask your questions in the chat. We have live chat going on either on the side or below the stream, however it appears on your device. If you see me looking away from the camera constantly, that's because I have the chat open up on a separate desktop window, so I'm just looking over and looking in the chat. So that's what's going on there. So if you've got questions, just type them out there. I get to repeat them, so everybody has the benefit of hearing the question, and then we're going to go through it and answer it to the best of my ability. And if I don't have an answer for you, then what I'm going to do is point you in the closest direction that I'm aware of in order for you to go get an answer. So hopefully that helps you out. Before we get into the Q&A session of this call, I want to let everybody know that we have a webinar coming up, which is really fun, and it's actually a webinar that we're hosting. So we're having our guest, Ryan Moore, who is the director of Uncanny Owl, and they produce something called the Uncanny Automator plugin, which is basically like Zapier for WordPress on steroids. It's pretty freaking cool, and we're basically just going to talk about how you can automate everything. You can do a lot of automation with Groundhogg, but it's mostly focused on the customer experience and the customer journey. Uncanny Automator goes a step in a different direction where it can automate a whole bunch of stuff outside of just your typical customer journey stuff like emails and SMS messages and stuff like that. So they're really doing some cool stuff for, like, when post is published, like, send it to Facebook or send it to Google Sheets or whatever. There's some really, really cool stuff going on there. So that's happening on August 27th. It'll be at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to take around 1 hour. There will be a special offer. So if you like what you see with Uncanny Automator, there will be a special offer, webinar only pricing, as they say, at the end of the call. So make sure that you come and catch that live on August 27th. Replays, of course, will be made available. All right, so let's jump into the Q&A session of this call. This entire call will be a Q&A session today. There's no specific topic, but we already have a few questions, so we'll just jump in. So our first question is from Francisco, and he says, any plans for a mobile app for the CRM? Fun fact, we actually built a mobile app like 2 years ago. Though the only problem with what we built was that nobody actually asked for it. And the continued cost of development and jumping through all the hoops to get validated and everything would have cost more than we would have made by having a mobile app at the time. So we have it. It's kind of like on our back burner. Hopefully we'll have a big enough audience and we'll be actually able to earn from it in the near future, and we can push hopefully that development forward. The REST API and everything in order to make a mobile app actually possible has also come a long way since we first developed it. So the answer is maybe. It's not an outright no, but it's not a near future type thing. Hopefully maybe within the next couple of years, we'll have the audience that is going to certainly make a mobile app worth developing. Ellen Martin says, or asks rather, could you speak to costs versus ease of use for Mailhawk versus SES or Elastic Email or Sendgrid, etc.? So if anybody here doesn't know, we actually help in the production of another service besides Groundhogg, and that's called Mailhawk. It's kind of like yin and yang. Groundhogg will handle CRM and sending the emails and all that stuff. And then Mailhawk is kind of like the delivery partner. Mailhawk is a email delivery service, kind of like Sendgrid or AWS SES. We essentially take the email from Groundhogg and send it to the inbox, and that's what Mailhawk does. So the question is Mailhawk or other stuff. So essentially, if you want to use Mailhawk, that's awesome. You're actually going to be supporting Groundhogg directly by investing Mailhawk and myself. I do have a business partner in this and a couple contractors working with us in order to provide support and development. But you are directly benefiting the WordPress ecosystem by using Mailhawk. Its pricing is pretty much directly comparable to that of Sendgrid's. We're not reinventing the wheel here, and it's comparable service, comparable ease of use to Sendgrid. It's actually a little bit easier than Sendgrid. You still have to do the DNS setup, but the nice thing about Mailhawk is that it's specifically designed to work with WordPress websites. So all you do is you install Mailhawk right on your WordPress website, and you can do all of your account management from WordPress, except for the billing aspect. So you take care of all your DNS stuff, you take care of everything from inside WordPress, which is kind of unique in the space and super cool. There's also stats that you can see within WordPress, like deliverability, delivery rates, and spam, and all of that good stuff. So that's available with Mailhawk. The second thing is that it does have a direct Groundhogg integration, which means if an email bounces, it gets marked as bounce. If someone complains, it gets marked as complained in Groundhogg. And that comes as standard. There's no necessary extra integration that you need for that. So Mailhawk will take care of that automatically. So that's super cool. Differences between something like this and something like Sendgrid. Well, it's a small company, and I'm a direct part of it. So if you work with Mailhawk, you're essentially working with us. So if you're enjoying the same level of support that you get with Groundhogg, you're going to get a similar, if not better, level of support with Mailhawk. So there's that to consider. If you're using AWS SES, it is cheaper. I won't lie to you and say that Mailhawk is cheaper than AWS. It simply isn't. However, you're not going to get the same support. You're not going to get the same attention to detail. You're not going to get any of that. If you're using AWS SES, you're pretty much on your own, which is fine. If you are in the WaaS space, Mailhawk also offers something unique compared to other plans, and that's our WaaS offering, where we have a special system set up for WaaS websites, which means that if you have one account, you can use the same account for all of your subsites, which makes it really, really easy to do the domain mapping stuff and all of that, and it's pretty much like no hassle. So if you're on the WaaS, this is a special offering that you're not really going to get with any other sending service. And in fact, other sending services make it quite hard to do what this service does, which is essentially just like white labeling email sending service with you, which is kind of cool. So that's Mailhawk in a nutshell. Comparable pricing to Sendgrid. It's definitely a lot simpler to set up than something like Elastic Email, which is complicated, and they're very, very, very strict. A couple bad emails will land you on the blacklist with Elastic Email, which I've noticed with a few customers since releasing the integration. So if you're making a choice, my top 3 choices would definitely be Mailhawk, Sendgrid, and AWS. Those would be my top 3, with Mailhawk being the one that I would highly recommend. I may be a little bit biased, but I think I'm allowed to be. Hopefully that answers your question, Ellen. Thank you for bringing that up. Ellen says, I have Groundhogg for WaaS, and it sounds like Mailhawk might be a good way to go. Yeah, absolutely. We do have a coupon code for Groundhogg users, and I'll just throw that in the chat there. Just use coupon code Groundhogg for your first month for like $1. So there you go. And that will help you get set up for $1. Really, really easy. So if you don't want to drop a whole bunch of money to test it out and you find out it doesn't work for your specific case or whatever, although I doubt that that'll be the case. All right, we are in an open Q&A session for Groundhogg today or other products and services. This is a moment in time where you can ask pretty much anything. I don't usually just focus on Groundhogg implementation on these calls. If you've noticed a trend with most of the topics, we touch a variety of things and experiences that I've gathered along the way, like dealing with refunds or Inside Advantage or landing page layout or exit pop-ups a good idea. I can answer or touch on a variety of topics. So I encourage you, if there's some sort of roadblock that you're experiencing at this point in time, to share that roadblock with me and with the rest of the group, and hopefully together we'll be able to point you in the direction of some sort of affirmative resolution. In the lack of questions, then I think what we'll do is maybe touch on last week's topic, which is Inside Advantage. So I'll give it 30 seconds or so before we kind of just launch into something in order to provide some sort of value for today's office hours.
they switch their CRM?
Okay, so what we'll do then, I'm not seeing any new questions come in, and that's totally fine. I just want to let everyone know that there's no silly questions and there's no dumb questions. We all are on this like boat together, and we help each other out, and we make sure that we get answers to the questions that we have. So even if you think you have a silly question, I want to let you know that this is a safe space and that we're going to make sure that you get an answer that solves your problem. Speaking of questions, Andrew Zumble has one. Is there a marketplace where you can find funnels? We actually wanted to do that a while ago, but we found that, quality assurance is obviously a problem. So what we have is essentially just the funnel templates that we provide at the moment in Groundhogg when you go to the add new funnel process. But depending on the funnel that you're looking for, you might actually be able to find a few of them in our Academy website and in previous office hours. So for example, we have a few courses going on here. So if you're doing some sort of LMS type deal, we have lots of templates available in the Course Creators Essential course. We have our lead magnet download funnel template available in the official Quick Start course. And we have this new one by Will, which is the Ultimate Review Generator Funnel. I should mention that Will has graciously recorded a second course for us, which was going to touch on customer onboarding. It's not available here yet, but it will come with a customer onboarding funnel template. So that's going to be on its way relatively soon. So stay on the lookout for that. Unfortunately, no store for funnel templates at this moment. Hopefully in the near future, though. I say that a lot, hopefully in the near future. Also, if you want to know what kind of funnel, or if you want, there's a specific funnel you want, Andrew, then please let me know. This office hours call is supposed to help you solve problems. So if there's a specific funnel template that you're looking for, or a specific kind of funnel, what we can actually do is you let me know what that is, and we'll build it right here on the call. So keep that in mind. Kurt asks, what advice do you give people that decide to start a project from scratch and want to build an ethical list? I love this question. This is one of my favorite questions because I have a really good answer for it. So Kurt, on our blog, which I'm going to go to and plug in really quickly, I wrote an article detailing the exact process that I used in order to build Groundhogg's list from scratch. I'd like to preface that by saying I did a lot of other things first that did not work. The things I tried before building my list ethically and sustainably were as follows. I spent $3,000 on Facebook ads that went totally to waste, and I didn't get a single email address from, so that was just a total fail. The other thing I did was I downloaded lead lists from a tool called BuiltWith, which is like a software analytics tool where you can see people's sites that use specific SaaS software. So I downloaded a couple lists from that. I didn't market to them directly, but I used those lists for like remarketing and stuff. And that just totally did not work. So wasted money on all fronts there. I think I spent like $1,500 to $2,000 on BuiltWith, and then another $3,000 on ads, and it was just a total waste. So this is my strategy, that following those two errors, this is what I did in order to create a list ethically from scratch, with no emails and just going on it, boots on the ground style. So from the top, I actually, on this blog post, and I'm going to link this in the chat, Kurt, so you can reference this article a little bit later. I actually go through the process of what I did and the mistakes that I made. But the first thing that's super important is identifying who your ideal customer is, and being super granular and super specific about who it is that you're going to be helping. As an example, our ideal customer is the marketing agency. The marketing agency in our circle of influence spends the most money, requires the least amount of support, and helps the most people implement Groundhogg. So they make a really, really good customer for us. Of course, there's something called the halo effect. So even if you choose that specific granular customer, that's not the only kind of customer you're going to get. Agencies only about make 66% of our total list. Agencies make 33% of our entire list, and then the rest is filled up by other segments. And this is called the halo effect. So providing epic service to a specific clientele is going to bring in other kinds of clientele and fill out the rest of your profit and your product list and everything. So don't be afraid, for anybody who's listening to this right now, to be super granular about who your audience is. Are they male? Are they female? Are there something in between? What sports do they play? How old are they? Where do they go to school? Where do they live? One of the truest phrases in marketing is, if you're marketing to everybody, you're marketing to nobody. Or if you're selling to everybody, you're selling to nobody. That's because if you niche out too broadly, then you're competing with people like Coca-Cola, who can sell anything to anybody. So as small businesses, in order to survive, in order to actually make an impact, we have to niche down. And we have to get more granular and granular and granular. We have to pick a niche that's obviously large enough in order to sustain ourselves and sustain our business. But we have to pick one small enough that we can easily differentiate ourselves from other people in the market. For example, if you look at in just the SaaS area, or the SaaS marketing automation area, because that's what I'm super familiar with, if you look at something like ConvertKit, well, they niched into providing for online digital creators, bloggers, course creators, etc. If you look at HubSpot, they are firmly rooted in people who can afford $1,000 or more a month, which is upper level SMBs, 100 people, in terms of 100 people in terms of employees. And then if you look at me, agencies, WordPress, like that's my niche. WordPress agencies, that's who we can really, really, really help succeed. We're not for people who use Shopify, for example. So you got to niche down to a point where you can easily differentiate yourself from other people, but not so much that there's not enough people for you to actually sell something to. So that's step one, be super granular. I walked down a little bit more of this in detail in this article here. Again, halo effect, anybody who doesn't fit your ideal but is close enough or has overlapping characteristics will be brought into your circle of influence anyway, so you don't need to account for all of those other people. Next step is identifying where your ideal customer actually hangs out. So this is the most important step, I think, in this entire article, is identifying where your ideal customer spends most of their time. So where do WordPress agencies spend most of the time? Well, they spend a lot of their time in Facebook groups with other WordPress agencies, like the Facebook ad marketing or Facebook agency ad marketing group on Facebook, or the WP Builds group, or there's lots of Facebook groups where WordPress people hang out. And what I did was I went and joined all of those groups so I could see what they were talking about, I could see what events they were interested in, and I could also participate and be a part of the conversation. So if you're, let's say, a fitness person and you're selling fitness goods or you're selling fitness services, where are the people who are buying your products? Are they the gym owners? Are they the gym goers? Who are they? If they're the gym goers, then it's probably a good idea to be in gyms. Would be my first step. If they're the gym owners, well, where do gym owners hang out? They probably hang out at gym conferences. I don't know what those would look like. I've never been to one, but I assume that's where they were. There's a gym owners Facebook group in Toronto that I know of because I used to have the agency I worked with used to have a gym owner client, and we spent a lot of time there asking people, what was going on. So be parts of those groups. If you have to find out somewhere to start, if your audience is at all kind of like a B2B type person, Facebook groups are where I would start. Also being on LinkedIn, super important, and being part of the conversation on LinkedIn for specific topics and interests. And that's what you really got to do. You just got to start being part of the conversation of where your ideal customer is hanging out. And I'm going to go into the next section of my strategy, which is once we know where they are, how do we actually participate in the conversation and talk to them and let them know that you exist? So the question I pose to you is, would you rather be helped or sold to? You can do selling while helping. It's all a matter of perspective and framing. So the most people's ethos on selling something to somebody is the always be closing method, as made utterly famous by Glenn Ross with Alec Baldwin, saying coffee's for closers and all of that good stuff. ABC, always be closing. This is what most people do. They rent a Lamborghini in their Facebook ad, they throw it in the back. in the background. They'll say, I want to show you how to be rich in like 24 hours or your money back or whatever. So, I mean, that's certainly a strategy, and I'm sure it might work for some people. I don't particularly ascribe to that methodology. I prefer to do always be helping method. And the always be helping method simply means that if someone asks a question in a Facebook group, let's say, go in and be helpful and provide an answer. It doesn't even need to be remotely related to your product. You just need to provide an answer. And the more times you communicate with people, the more often you'll be recognized by group regulars. So let's go back to the gym owner example. You're participating in a gym owner's Facebook group, and you want to sell, let's say, marketing automation software for gym owners. Well, all you got to do is you just got to join that group, and when people ask, how do I communicate with, my list? And it's like, oh, I have a tool that might be able to help you with that. Here's how you might be able to use other tools or my tool in order to communicate your list. Here are some strategies that you could implement to effectively do that. And that is how you start a conversation, by being helpful and not just going into, buy my software, it'll solve all your problems. Another example of this, not inclusive of your software or your product or whatever it is that you're trying to move, might be, I need to increase retention in my gym. How do I go about doing that? And all you have to do is you just have to, either write an article or Google somebody else's article and be like, hey, I found this article, this might be helpful. And the more times and the more often that you participate, the more often you'll be recognized, you build up a reputation, and eventually what's gonna happen is the creator of that group or the owner or some person of influence is going to Facebook message you or reach out to you on LinkedIn or via email or your preferred method of communication and say, I've seen you a lot in the Facebook groups and you seem to know what you're talking about, we should have a meeting. That's what happened to me. I would just participate in stuff like the WP Builds group and the marketing automation groups and Chris Badge's group and Jack Artura's group. I just participate and help people. Even if their questions were for other CRMs or other stuff, I just send them blog posts and be like, hi. And then people of influence started to message me and reach out and say, hey, listen, we should have a podcast. I checked out your product. It looks super cool. Let's get started. And that's really how that happened. So coming from an always be helping approach, I think, is a lot easier in order to create influence than the always be selling approach. I mean, the always be closing approach is like, puts people off, a lot of people off immediately. There's of course certain people that this works for, but it's certainly not everybody. So turning helping into sales. So once people start to reach out to you and you start to gain a little bit of a larger circle of influence, that's when you can start actually turning that into some form of revenue. There is a little bit of legwork that has to be done. This is not a make money overnight strategy. This is a long-term list building, revenue generating strategy. This took about maybe 6 months in order to successfully implement and see any sort of return. But 2 years later, we're still here and we're a profitable organization. So there's something to be said for that. Turning into revenue. So number one is the podcasts that you get and the influence that you get. That's a matter of time before that turns into revenue. For example, a lot of the podcasts that I do, I get to put in my blurb. It's like, hey, how can people learn more about you and what you do? It's like, well, if you need help growing a list, launching your funnel, and scaling your business, you can find us at groundhogg.io. We actually have a coupon for the listeners of this specific podcast. You can use code WPBuilds20 or whatever to go get Groundhogg for 20% off, and we'll speak, and you can be part of our community, and we'll help you grow. And that's going to turn into revenue. And as you do that continuously and create consistency and create brand, then that's going to spread via word of mouth. All of our marketing at this point in time is still word of mouth, which is pretty incredible. And we do okay. So that's pretty awesome. And that's what consistency and brand can do for you as you continue to just help people and come from a helping first approach. When you're doing podcasts, by the way, and you're participating on calls with other influencers, it's extremely important that you try not to focus on yourself too much. I see this happen with other product developers and other service owners, and they say, well, this is my service, and this is what it can do, and this is what you helps you with, and that's all well and good. And there's obviously a certain section of time that you need to spend on doing that because you have to earn the right. But what I find most important when you're sharing information, you're helping others, is not to focus on how you can help them. It's share your experience and your knowledge that will help them solve a specific problem. So framing it in a way, it's like, well, I know for a fact that I spent $3,000 on Facebook ads and it all went to waste. How can other people benefit from my experience? And now I'm walking through this entire strategy. This whole time hasn't really been focused on me. It's been focused on how can my experience benefit you directly by showing you the mistakes that I went through and then identifying the steps that I made in order to solve that specific problem. That is what I would recommend rather than focusing specifically on our products. And if you have specific anecdotes that aren't directly related to your product at all, like this isn't directed to marketing automation at all. This is a list building strategy that Groundhogg really comes in right at the end where you have an opt-in form, right? So that's the kind of thing that I'd highly recommend that you continue to share because it builds authority, it builds credibility, and it builds consistency and brand. And eventually the revenue will come. And that's kind of the rest of it. The leads will come, the revenue will come as you build consistency, as you build brand, as you build influence and expand the circle of people that you know and that you can reach out to, and you can create webinars like I'm doing with Ryan Moore at Uncanny Automator, or Chris Badgett or Francisco from Buddy Boss. As you build your circle of influence, the money comes. Because there's a universal law that's called the law of reciprocity, the law of reciprocity. And it states that if you help enough people get what they want, you can have what you want, and that generally comes in the form of either monetary benefit or spiritual benefit, or the benefit or the currency benefit that you choose. So Kurt, that was a really long-winded answer, and I kind of rambled on a little bit in the middle there. But my clear, concise thoughts that I did have edited by someone else other than myself are detailed clearly in this article. I highly recommend that everybody on this call go read it. Especially if you're having trouble generating leads. If you're not having trouble generating leads, kudos. And what you should do is you should share with us your strategy for generating leads, so we can share that, and everybody else can benefit from that experience. I always believe that if you know something of benefit and you have knowledge that other people can benefit from, you have a duty and responsibility to share that. You don't have to share it for free. You can certainly charge for it, but you do have a duty and responsibility to share it. So if you are that person, feel free to share. Okay. We have a couple other questions that came in while I was going down that wormhole. Kurt actually has a follow-up question. He said, there's a lead gen funnel, but how do people get the traffic to those when Facebook ads don't seem to provide the hits? What works best for people that put in the effort? Okay, so that is part of your earlier question. Help people and find out where the people that you can help are. Be there, be part of the conversation. Don't sell, just help. 3-6 months later, you're going to have a circle of influence and you're going to have a number of contacts, and you're going to be able to start turning that influence into revenue. It's a long tail process. It's not a quick fix. I find, I think the reason that Facebook ads failed so terribly in my case, after having, done a little bit of dissection and talked to a few other people about it, was that at the time of running Facebook ads, I had no list. I had no influence. I had no clout. There was no one on the Facebook ads commenting, this is great software, you should sign up. All the likes were from unreputable countries, and et cetera, et cetera. So I think the fact that they failed was partly down to the fact that I had zero influence and zero reviews at that time. So when people saw the ad, they're like, who are you and why should I listen to you? I hadn't earned the right in order to serve people that ad yet. And I think that's really what it came down to. I think that if I took another stab at it and, of course, hired someone that actually knew what they were doing, I might have a little bit of a better result, because now I have proof that our software can help people and that our teachings and the things that we say can actually help people. So I think I might have a little bit of a better chance had I gone down the Facebook ads route a little bit later, and maybe we will still. But if you're starting from scratch, I think this is the way to go. I think this is the way to go. It's certainly the way to go if you don't want people telling you how bad your ads are. That's certainly true. Okay, I'm going to move on. Kurt, hopefully that was helpful and provided a little bit of insight and a little bit of guidance and some next steps for you. If you have any questions about this process, I highly encourage you to let me know what those are, and we can really dissect this, because I really love this process and I really stand behind it. And for anybody who asks me, how do I generate my first set of leads? This is what I say. Some people can get rich really quick overnight with a magical product, and they just have it figured out. I'm not that person. I have taken a measured and steady and logical approach to building this business, and I will probably continue to do so until we reach critical mass at someday. And if you're interested in that process and taking a methodical, logical, and measured approach to building your business, then this is certainly the recommended method. There are two questions that I think came from the Facebook group, which Nancy has posted, and those are a question from Gil. Gil asks, can Groundhogg automatically tag a customer, or Groundhogg automatically tagged customer as marketable users that signed up as members on our community on WordPress? How do we define it? Say I want to tag them in a different manner. Okay, so there are a couple default tags. And I'm going to open up a website here so I can show you what those default tags are. So there are a number of default tags, and you can actually change what these tags are in the settings under the Tags tab. But essentially, these are what we call opt-in status tags, and the only reason these tags exist is to make referencing changes in opt-in status really easily. So you can't actually apply these tags to customers because they're automatically mapped from the opt-in status, which I'll define in a second. But you can read these tags, which means if you're sending like a broadcast, you can choose marketing status based on your particular list. So we have a confirmed tag, an unconfirmed tag, unsubscribed, spam, bounced, complained, monthly, weekly, marketable, and non-marketable. So essentially what this means is if someone confirms or double opts in to an email via the confirmation link, then they're going to get the confirmed tag, and all of these other opt-in status tags are going to be removed. If they sign up, they're automatically unconfirmed, so they'll have the unconfirmed tag. If they unsubscribed, they're going to get the unsubscribed tag, and so on and so forth. At the bottom here, there are two special tags called marketable and non-marketable. Now, these are set based on your specific compliance settings in Groundhogg. So we have a compliance tab, and this basically enables you to configure CAN spam, GDPR, and CASL regulations for compliance. And based on your compliance, the combination of opt-in status and time will result in them having the either marketable or non-marketable tag. So if you have all of your compliance settings as blank, what's going to happen is your contacts will sign up and they're automatically going to be unconfirmed marketable. You don't have any compliance settings, which means you can send to anybody who's on your list that's either unconfirmed or confirmed, or monthly or weekly. And you'll be able to send them email, which means they have the marketable tag because they haven't told you otherwise that they don't want to be emailed. As soon as that person unsubscribes or gets any of the other negative opt-in statuses, which is bounced, spam, complained, and whatever, they're going to get the non-marketable tag, which means they're not allowed to receive marketing. If you attempt to send emails to that person, those will not be sent out. The system will actually prevent those emails from being sent. If you have CASL legislation enabled, so you're requiring people to double confirm their email address with a certain amount of time, which the default is 14 days. After 14 days, those people will automatically be marked as non-marketable because their time to confirm their email address has surpassed. So they're going to be, so the marketable tag is going to be removed and they're going to get the non-marketable tag instead because they're no longer marketable. This is how this system works. You cannot change the way that the system works. It's kind of ingrained into it. So you can change the names of the tags, which is totally fine. You can actually change the tags that are actually applied if you want to do localization or change it to your specific language, etc. So this is something to be aware of, that this system exists. You can't apply any of these tags in the funnels. They'll just be removed automatically when their opt-in status changes, but you can use them to reference in stuff like the broadcast tool or in funnels using the apply tag or the tag applied step or the tag removed step, et cetera, et cetera. So this would be helpful, for example, if you wanted to run some sort of automation when someone unsubscribes, you'd be able to have a tag applied step at the top that says tag removed or tag applied unsubscribed. Then you can send a webhook to somewhere to do something else or something like that. So that's an option for you. These are the purpose of opt-in status tags. This whole process is actually explained in more detail on our help site. And let me just grab the link. Yeah, what are opt-in status tags? We actually just have a clear, concise article for that. And I'm going to go ahead and post that in the chat here. What are opt-in status tags? Oh yeah. There is a follow-up question to that. When sending an email, how do I get the information regarding open rate, click-through rate, bounce, and which links were clicked on? Excellent question. So I am going to open up a broadcast email from my actual site so I can show you actual results, because that's always nice. We like to see actual results. So in the email or in the reporting area in Groundhogg, which you can get just by going to the menu, we actually have a whole reporting area for your email. You can see the number sent, the amount, the click-through rate, how specific or how people are interacting with specific emails and broadcasts. So all of the email or all of the information you're ever going to need about how people are interacting with your emails is right here. For a specific broadcast or a specific email, you can actually go ahead and open that up, and it's going to break that down in even further details, so I can see how people are interacting with this specific email, the number of people that unsubscribed, which is 2, the number of people that clicked, the number of unique clicks, etc. So all of this available within the reporting area. Just click on email or broadcast, and that is going to give you all of the information that you need. For specific funnels, you can also do that. For, let's say, our affiliate onboarding funnel as an example. For people who register affiliates, we can see how people interact with specific emails sent from this particular funnel. We can see stats on it, everything that you're ever going to need to know about any particular funnel or email available here in this reporting area. So, Gil, I think that was your question. Hopefully that helps you out and points you in the right direction to getting an answer to your question. Alrighty, we are still in our Q&A period. We are coming around 40 minutes. 40 minutes is typically a good length for office hours, so I'm going to give it another few minutes for questions to roll in. If I don't hear or see any other questions, then what we're going to do is we're just going to start wrapping the session of office hours up. So, there are no silly questions. If you have a roadblock that you're currently facing in your business, now is definitely the time to let us know what that is. As you saw with Kurt, who is gracious enough to share with us that he wants to build a list from scratch, we actually have a whole article and a whole list of things to do based on that premise. If you have a problem with, like, for example, getting too many refund requests, we have tools for that as well. So really just lots of things that we can lend an ear on and that we can provide instructions on. So do not be afraid or do not hesitate to share with us your struggles and the things that you're having a challenge with. I'm going to give it a minute or two for people to put in their last minute questions, and then we'll start wrapping up. Leonardo is asking, do we have any plans to integrate with MemberPress? Membership plugins have often been requested. Unfortunately, we don't have any planned future integrations. We're actually working on something a little bit different than integrations at the moment. And maybe what I'll do is just to get everybody a little bit excited, I'll show you what we're working on. So I've already shown everybody the new funnel editing experience, and that's pretty cool. But if you haven't seen this yet, I think. So we're working on a revolutionary platform for WordPress. It's Groundhogg, but it's a little bit different than Groundhogg that you might be used to over the last couple of years. So WordPress is evolving, and that's awesome. And we want to evolve too, and we want to provide the best, like not second to best, the best CRM and marketing automation experience currently available. Regardless of whatever platform you're using, ActiveCampaign, Keep, HubSpot, whatever, we want to be the best. And that means leaving WordPress behind in some way, shape, or form, and I'll show you what I mean. So here I am logged into WordPress, and I'm going to open up Groundhogg. But instead of opening up your standard WordPress dashboard, it's actually going to load up its own dashboard with its own functionality, its own sideboard, its own menu, quick search, and all sorts of good stuff. And this is the future. So we go to our CRM, it's going to dynamically load over our contacts. There's going to be no tabbing in and out, no refreshing of pages. If I want to search for someone, I just choose how I want to search for them. I want to see everybody who's confirmed and who has the tag male or female. I want to do that. That doesn't look like anybody, so let's try unconfirmed. Great, and then I want to search anybody whose name starts with B for whatever reason. There we go. So currently we're working on an entirely new Groundhogg experience. So development of integrations is kind of on hold at the moment. However, there is a solution, which I'm sure you're familiar with, and that is, of course, WP Fusion. For anybody that needs membership integrations with anything. WP Fusion is just really the way to go. They provide a much tighter integration for membership plugins than I think we'd actually be able to provide for you. And they already have it all set up, and Jack is just a great guy and provides so much support, and really that he's kind of got that little market on lockdown at the moment. So if you need membership integrations, go get WP Fusion. I promise you that the investment is well worth it, and it's a flat rate, yearly fee, and I don't think it's too expensive. So that's what I would do, because we are focused on providing you with the best CRM and marketing automation experience currently available on the market, and we're really busy doing that. Trust me. This one page is a lot of work. To get this going, because it's basically rebuilding Groundhogg from scratch, which is a massive undertaking of epic proportions. So yeah, this is just a heads up. This is currently where our development efforts are focused by popular demand of an improved CRM and customer experience. This is where we're at. So hopefully you're actually excited to see this kind of, or this level of improvement. I know that I'm really, really, really excited about it, and it's going to be good. It's going to be really, really, really good. Gil Gruber asks, Groundhogg automatically tagged as customer and marketable users that signed up. How do we define it? Gil, I think you might have come on the call late, because I literally just answered that question for you because I saw your thing. So what I'm going to do is, if you want to watch, you can watch the replay of this office hours, but I'm actually just going to send you at this point this article which explains what the opt-in status tags are, which is what you're referring to. Otherwise, you can actually rewind this presentation maybe about 10 minutes, and I actually answer that question in detail, Gil. Ellen Martin says decoupling. Yes, we are. That is a good word to use, Ellen. We are decoupling Groundhogg from the regular WordPress administrative area and providing you with a a clearer and more customer friendly and more user friendly CRM and marketing automation experience, where I'm really super excited about it. This will probably be a Q1 of 2021 development, maybe early Q2 of 2021. Certainly not a this year development. We have a lot of tech debt and a lot of backwards compatibility to consider, and it's going to take some time to ramp all that stuff up and create a program for third-party developers as well. But it's super exciting, and it's where Groundhogg is going into the future. I hope you're excited about it as I am, and it's just gonna be super awesome. Andrew asks, how do you get people to confirm their email? Most of the people who get an email from us don't confirm. They fill out a form on our website, but then don't confirm. Well, you got to make sure that you're sending the confirmation email. If they're not confirming, well, then that means that can mean a couple things. The email isn't getting to their inbox. You can check your open rates if you want to confirm that. You check your open rates by going to the reporting area, as I had previously mentioned. But you're going to want to make sure that you are sending a confirmation email. Details are here. Andrew says we are sending confirmation emails. Well, there can be a variety of reasons then. Number one, they got what they came for. That would be number one, is if they already got what they came for, then there's no incentive to click the confirmation link and confirm their email address. Number two is it's ending up in spam. That's certainly possible depending on the email sender that you're using. Number three is the email subject line doesn't easily identify yourself, and they don't see that it's from you. Number four, Andrew says they are lazy, which is certainly possible. Quoting is certainly one of the more difficult ones, because when people are quoting, they're like getting a quote from like 14 different providers. So in the event that, or Andrew says that's it, they get what they came for. Yeah. So if they get what they came for, then there's the incentive to confirm their email address is not there, especially if you're in a quoting environment, because what they're doing, they're just going to 17 other companies and getting quotes, and they're gonna pick the best option for them, right? So there's no incentive to confirm their email address while they're in the middle of that process. Yeah, that's a tough one. My recommendation, I mean, getting confirmed email addresses is certainly not the end of the world. It's obviously a pain in the butt if you plan on sending those people broadcasts and follow-up, because you can only do it for a certain amount of time. In your case, what you can do is we actually enable you to change the grace period for email confirmation. So what you can do is you can up it from, say, 14 days to 30 days. I don't think anybody's going to get mad at you for doing that. And that will enable you to communicate with those people for an extra 14 days, so you can continue to send them follow-up and also send them a couple broadcast emails within that time frame. And you can continue to ask them to confirm their email address. If they're lazy and they decide not to do it in that time period, then you're just going to have to make peace with it and let it go. The quoting environment is difficult. Andrew asks, should we offer them an incentive? They actually do business with us. I mean, I guess it depends on the kind of incentive. I don't think you're actually supposed to incentivize the confirmation of email address according to like law. It's kind of just like, confirm your email address so we can continue to market to you, is basically like the language that's supposed to be used. We don't actually enforce that, but that's certainly something to consider. Incentivize. I mean, the only incentivization I could think of is confirm your email address and get the quote that you asked for. So if you can put the quote behind the confirmation process, that's obviously going to result in you delivering less quotes, but you'll get more confirmed email addresses. So I guess you're going to have to choose what's more important to you, more quotes or more confirmed email addresses. I would think more quotes is more important, because at the end of the day, you want the revenue, not the email address is important, but you want the revenue. If they're not confirming, you obviously can't continue to email market to them, but you can use that email address for other things like Facebook remarketing, etc. So if that person does end up inevitably being unmarketable, it's not the end of the world. You can throw that email address into Facebook, send them remarketing. So the next time that they have an event, or if they haven't actually made a decision about their wedding or whatever yet, then they'll be able to see your ad and come back and get another quote or continue the sales process. Now, I hope you're collecting phone numbers. I know you do a lot of outbound phone calls, Andrew, because I'm familiar with your business. Marketability does not affect, and it should, but it doesn't necessarily affect you being able to call them. So if they haven't confirmed their email address, what I would do is I just pick up the phone and call them. You can actually probably set up an admin notification for yourself. So if someone becomes unconfirmed, we talked about the whole opt-in status tag thing. So you can create a funnel that starts off when someone becomes unmarketable or they unsubscribe or whatever. And what you can do is you can then send an admin note to someone that says, pick up the phone and call this person so that we can figure out why they didn't confirm their email address and we can actually get them to confirm. Someone can give you consent over the phone. You can manually change someone's confirmation status from the contact record. So if you want to get confirmation over the phone, you can do that. And that's certainly a possibility as well, if you obviously have the resources to do outbound phone calls. So Andrew, hopefully that provides a little bit of information and a little bit of guidance. Leonardo is asking any release date for Groundhogg. Well, the product or the working name is Groundhogg 3. Super innovative, I know. So Groundhogg 3 release date. We're aiming for Q1 of 2021. So a long time from now. What is that? 4 or 5 months? Yeah, so we're aiming for Q1 2021, and we'll see. I'm super excited about it, so stay tuned for more developments. Unfortunately, our interest in getting this done will mean less integrations and less extensions in the coming months. That's because the more extensions that we build means the more tech debt that we have in order to onboard to Groundhogg 3. So we're basically kind of like just cutting it at this point and saying no more integrations and no more extensions. We're going to focus on getting Groundhogg 3 right, building a ramp-up platform for third-party developers, and also being able to ramp up the remainder of our 45 extensions and integrations, which we also have to consider. This is going to be a measured process. Groundhogg 3 is actually going to come out probably before the rest of our extension library, and we're going to release it as a separate product, and we're going to make it optional for you to upgrade to Groundhogg 3. If you're familiar with the whole keep process, we're going to kind of try to do it that way, except not terribly, and we're going to release it as a separate product. Moving over will be optional, and while third-party developers basically get on board, and we get the rest of our integrations and extensions on board, so that we can provide you nothing but the clearest and most concise and easiest CRM and marketing automation experience currently available on the market for WordPress. Okay, Andrew, in reference to my suggestion to call people if they don't confirm, says that's a great suggestion. So I hope that helps, Andrew. All right, we're at the top of the hour now, so what we're going to do is we're going to call it a day. I talked a lot. I hope I helped some people, and I hope you were able to get some valuable information from this call, and I hope you're excited about Groundhogg 3. All right, so if you need further help, there are additional resources that are completely meant to get you off the ground and get you running. You can go to academy.groundhogg.io to take a few free courses that we have there, how to get more reviews, how to do LMS, how to launch your first lead magnet download funnel. If you're more of a sit back, relax, and have someone else do it for you, we have our certified partner directory. By the way, if there are any certified partners on the call, we have our partner mastermind call right after this, so make sure that you're getting on board for that. For anybody who is interested in becoming a certified partner, we get to do this again, but you get to turn your mic on and actually participate. So if you want to be a certified partner, instructions at groundhogg.io/partner. If you have someone who you think might be able to benefit from, or you want to promote Groundhogg and you want to share and spread the gospel, as it were, then we are rewarding you for 10% recurring commissions on all sales, which is pretty awesome. Affiliate area /registration to register to become an affiliate. If you're not following us on social channels, you are, or you should be. You should go to Groundhogg WP on both Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And we have all of our social channels there. We like to post photos and pictures of the team and mugs that we get from other companies, which is super fun. Chris Badgett sent me a mug. If you saw the pictures for that, it's pretty cool. And all of that is posted on our social channels. So make sure you go like and follow, subscribe, all of that good stuff. If you enjoyed today's session, you found it really, really helpful, and you find our tools really, really helpful, and I would highly suggest or highly appreciate it rather if you went to wordpress.org/groundhog and you left a 5-star review. Reviews are awesome. We get to share them on our website, and we get to brag about all of the help or all of the customers and businesses that we've helped succeed, and we'd love to be able to do that for you as well. So wordpress.org/plugins/groundhog, leave a 5-star review. If you have any additional questions, there are lots of ways to get answers. You can continue to comment on this Facebook Live, or you can just post in the Facebook group. That is what it's there for at the end of the day. You can message our live chat. We of course have our ticket system. You can message us on Twitter, Facebook, or any social media channel. And of course, you can just shoot us an email. And we are in the email business after all. I hope everybody enjoyed this session. I hope everybody got some value. I hope it was well worth your time. Thank you for sharing this hour of your day with me. I know we can all be doing other things elsewhere in the world. I know we're all incredibly busy, and we're all, may or may not be suffering from the consequences of the pandemic. But I appreciate the fact that you took the time to spend it with me. I'm truly grateful. Next office hour session call will be next week, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday. Until then, I'll see everybody later.